The Lamborghini Countach absolutely vaporized the rulebook. I'm your professional stickman guide. Let's engineer an icon.
Okay, let's dive right into this. To really understand this car, we actually have to start with its name. As the legendary designer Marcello Gandini tells the story, his team was working these crazy late nights on the prototype back in 1970, and working right alongside them was this giant 2-meter-tall lockmaker from the Piedmont region. Now, he didn't speak standard Italian, only his local dialect. Every single time he looked at this car, he was just so blown away that he'd yell out, "Countach!" which literally translates to plague or contagion, but locally it's used to express just absolute sheer amazement. The team thought this was so hilarious they slapped the word on the prototype as a joke, and, well, it completely stuck.
So here's the crucial takeaway. This word, Countach, is purely an exclamation of shock. Why does that matter for automotive history? Well, it completely shattered Lamborghini's sacred naming tradition. Up until this exact moment, almost every Lamborghini was named after a famous fighting bull. Think the Miura, right? Or the Espada. I mean, just imagine designing a car so utterly alien, so completely out of this world, that you literally have to abandon your entire company naming convention just to capture the shock factor. It essentially had to be named after a literal gasp of pure amazement. But listen, the Countach wasn't just built to look crazy. It had to fix some massive, real-world engineering problems. See, its predecessor, the iconic Miura, was gorgeous, but it was deeply flawed. Its transverse engine layout, meaning the engine actually sat sideways, caused intense liftoff oversteer and some really terrible, persistent cooling issues. So Chief Engineer Paolo Stanzani and his team, they had to be ruthless. Enter the Countach solution. They totally flipped the script. They went with a longitudinal mid-engine layout to perfectly center the mass of the car. And this was a huge game changer, drastically improving high-speed stability and finally curing those nasty cooling problems for good.
Now, what's really interesting here is how designer Marcello Gandini basically threw out the entire automotive rulebook to create what we now famously call the Italian wedge. I mean, he gave the world those absolutely iconic vertical lifting scissor doors. They were first tested on a concept, sure, but they were perfected for production right here. He also designed a wild roof integrated periscope rearview mirror, because standard mirrors would have just ruined the aerodynamic airflow. He even placed these aircraft-inspired warning lights right inside the arc of the steering wheel and conceptualized an onboard electronic diagnostic dashboard literally years before that was an industry standard. I mean, they didn't just build a car, they built a spaceship on wheels.
But as I'm sure you can probably guess, driving a spaceship comes with spaceship problems. Just imagine for a second the absolute absurdity of trying to park this ultra-expensive wide wedge of metal. Because of that extreme shape, and let's not forget the massive V12 engine sitting right behind your head, rear visibility was practically zero. None. So drivers actually invented what's known as the official contact reversing technique. You literally have to pop open the scissor door, hike yourself up to sit on this ultra-wide door sill, and then reverse the car while physically looking over the back of the roof from the outside. It's ridiculous, it's incredibly impractical, and you know what? It is absolutely perfectly Countach. So how exactly did Paolo Stanzani pull off the mechanical magic needed to fix the Miura's problems? Well, to get that perfectly stable, centered mass, he couldn't just shove the engine in the back and call it a day. Step 1, he mounted that massive V12 longitudinally, so front to back. Step 2, and this brilliantly illustrates the sheer genius of the design, he placed the heavy 5-speed transmission right in the middle of the car. We're talking literally sandwiched right between the driver and passenger seats. And then, step 3, to get all that power all the way back to the rear wheels, he ran the drive shaft straight through the engine's oil sump to the rear differential. It was just an absolute masterpiece of packaging. Now, the Countach definitely didn't stay static over its 16-year production run. Oh no, it evolved aggressively. It kicked off in 1974 with the LP400, which we know as the original narrow body. Then, by 1978, the LP400S hit the scene, bringing those massive, ultra-wide Pirelli tires and those unmistakable fiberglass wheel arches. Fast forward to '82, the LP500S brought a much larger 4.8-liter engine to the party. 1985 gave us the 5000 QV, boasting a 5.2-liter block with 4 valves per cylinder. And finally, we get the 1988 25th Anniversary Edition, featuring a major aerodynamic restyling by none other than the legendary Horacio Pagani. And as you can see from the data here, the sheer power of this thing relentlessly scaled up to match its increasingly aggressive styling. The original 3.9-liter LP400 was already pushing an impressive 370 horsepower and could hit 179 miles per hour. But fast forward to the 5,000 QV in the mid-80s, engine displacement bumped up to 5.2 liters, cranking out 449 horsepower and pushing a blistering top speed of 185 miles per hour. They weren't just slapping on crazy wings and flares for the fun of it. These Lamborghini engineers were actively building an absolute monster to back up those wild looks.
But here's a totally wild, almost secret piece of history. For a really long time, this monster was actually illegal in the United States. Lamborghini simply didn't build the original cars to meet strict US safety and emissions rules. But you see, Americans were just so obsessed with the Countach that wealthy buyers created this massive, rogue, gray market just to import them. Private shops would modify these exotic cars stateside to make them EPA and DOT compliant. And notoriously, this meant slapping on these large, incredibly ugly, mandatory 5-mile-per-hour plastic bumpers that completely ruined Guandini's sleek wedge design. It wasn't until 1985 that Lamborghini finally threw in the towel and built an official US spec model straight from the factory. Now, as a professional stickman who totally geeks out over engineering secrets, this specific prototype is hands down my absolute favorite. See, the standard production Countach used a tubular steel space frame and aluminum panels, weighing in at nearly 1,500 kilograms. But the 1987 Evolution prototype, it was this unpainted top-secret testbed built entirely with a composite Kevlar and carbon fiber unibody. It shaved off nearly 400 kilos, bringing the dry weight down to an astonishing 1,050 kilograms. Sadly, Lamborghini actually ended up destroying this one-of-a-kind prototype in a crash test, but the invaluable data they gathered from it, that paved the exact way for all the modern carbon fiber supercars we see on the roads today. So think about this. With all this immense pop culture fame, with Countach posters plastered on literally millions of bedroom walls, and a production run that spanned from the 70s all the way into the 90s, how many were actually made? Just 1,983. That is the total number of original Countachs built over its entire 16-year lifespan. It's a remarkably tiny number, isn't it? It really emphasizes just how incredibly rare this boundary-breaking icon actually is in the real world. Now, in 2021, Lamborghini released the hybrid LPI 800-4 to celebrate the nameplate's 50th anniversary. And don't get me wrong, it's a stunning piece of modern machinery. But it begs the question, can any modern revival truly capture the outrageous, rule-breaking, almost dangerous legacy of the original Countach? It's a car with incredibly massive shoes to fill. Think about that, and let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.